it's easier than setting up the auto splitter to just like have the thing on the screen. So that's what we're going to be using. We're not going to be using RTA. So, you know, one effect that this can have is maybe a runner has to take like a break between chapters. That's okay. A short break is allowed. It's just going to be like, you know, maybe 90 seconds to take water, collect your breath. Because again, this can be a very demanding game, as you're going to see once we're out of the prologue. All right, so Mr. Ike is the first one to get started on stream here. So, yeah, the prologue's very basic. Like, this is just your standard tutorial. A crow tells you that you're able to jump. It tells you that you're able to climb. And once we're off this bridge with this sweet riff, it tells us that we're able to dash. Yep, Crow tells us that we're able to dash, and now we can start dashing. So basically the dash, as it's intended, is to let you cover larger distances in the air. Like you can kind of see its like intended purpose here. Like you just dash, cover the large distance, land safely on the ground. And the dash is also the foundation of all the speed tech that we're going to be using, as we're going to see once we get into Forsaken City, which is the first level. Okay, yeah, so as you can kind of see, these runners have been just kind of like dashing around. So one thing that they've been doing so right there, you just saw the extended hyperdash on both of their screens. So basically, hyperdash is when you're holding down and you just kind of like dash faster than your normal dash. And that's like easily the fastest way to get around the extended hyperdash, which you just saw from GamzeeDreemurr, and that Mr. Ike has kind of had a little trouble setting up. So like if you jump out of your dash a little bit after you perform the hyperdash action, you will retain another dash for you to use in midair. So that, like, you know, in addition to covering a lot of the ground with speed, you're able to just get even further. So yeah, that's kind of the main speed tech that we're going to be using, is those hyperdashes. And Mr. Ike is the first one through after getting through the section which you're seeing for GamzeeDreemurr, getting through that thing with like some neutral wall jumps where they're just kind of like jumping off the wall and then immediately holding back to the wall to kind of continue climbing up without losing stamina. All right, so now that we're out of Forsaken City, we're into Chapter 2, which is the Old Site, where Old Site is kind of like a simpler chapter. Like the first two chapters of this game, they're kind of like, I don't want to say basic, but because like nothing in this game is really basic, but they're kind of like more to get you into the groove, I would say, because like there's not really a lot of obstacle that you're encountering like right now. It's just more about like moving cleanly and avoiding like miscues, kind of like, yeah. All right, then both of them have also activated the dream blocks, which are one of the more fun and more memorable mechanics from a casual playthrough, because you just get to shoot through these squishy little boxes at a speed equivalent to your dash. And now Mr. Ike is in the battle line fight. So battle line, like the spikes and every single other thing that these runners are going to be encountering in this game, is a one-hit KO. And she mimics your exact movements on a 3-second delay, which is both something cool because you can like we've kind of routed out the movements that we're going to do to avoid dying to battle line. But it's also kind of, you know, if you do manage to mess up a strat in the room, like you can see that you kind of run into battle line there because your ridiculous plan just kind of fell through. But also, if you like look closely, if you like manage to survive, you'll see battle line moving in the exact same way you just did, which is always like a little bit, come on, don't humiliate me further. Yeah, apart from that one death there, Mr. Ike moving through pretty briskly. GamzeeDreemurr not really that far behind right now. Yeah, going for slightly different strats, which is, you know, kind of cool to see. There's many different ways to get through all the rooms, so. All right, so Mr. Ike is through the battle line fight, a pretty quick section, and now we're kind of into the last part of Old Sight, which is the awake section. So it turns out that everything that just happened in the chapter was a dream, and now this is reality. So awake is where you can kind of start to see like a skill difference between runners, because like an experienced runner who's like done this hundreds of times before, they'll be moving through this almost exactly like Ike is, like very cleanly, not running into corners, not running into walls, all like knowing exactly where to dash and how to like set up their movements. And it's kind of cool to see done well, but like you can definitely tell like when like someone is a little bit more practiced at the game than other people. All right, so Mr. Ike is in the Celestial Resort right now. So the Celestial Resort is a marked difference from the previous two levels. Number one, it's a lot longer. Like I think not that these runners are going to be going for the IL world record, but the IL world record for this is longer than the world records for the first two levels combined. Like it's a much longer level. And the second difference for anyone who's ever played this game before are now we have these little dust bunnies impeding our progress. Like they're the first real obstacles like in our way. Like in the first couple stages, we kind of saw like spikes kind of outlining just to like, you know, punish us for going too far and not going far enough. Whereas like here, now we're trying to avoid these dust bunnies. And oftentimes they will move on a cycle, as we're probably going to be seeing after GamzeeDreemurr skips this cutscene. Yeah, so you can see those dust bunnies on Dreemurr's side kind of scrolling around and around. So they will always be spinning around in the same way. Like we know exactly how they're going to move. We know the exact pattern they're going to give us. Like there's no actual RNG in this game. It's all like we kind of know what to do here. So just kind of like, so this is another part where like you can really tell an experienced runner from someone who's like newer to the game or still learning the game, because like it's all about kind of like not just moving quickly through, not just like knowing what the cycles are going to give you, but being able to move quickly through these cycles. Yeah, like you saw on Mr. Ike's screen there, he just like knew exactly how everything in those last couple of rooms are going to move, and he moved his character Madeline accordingly, and that's just really fun to see this section done well. And yeah, GamzeeDreemurr getting through the first part of this level pretty decently too. And there's a commentator's curse there. Sorry about that. And Mr. Ike getting through the second part of this huge mess section of the level pretty well. He's had a very solid run so far. In Dreemurr, getting through the first part of huge mess, like this giant maze of books and tiles and boxes, and it's a really tough thing to navigate, and especially like navigate fast. Like, yeah, and you definitely, yeah. And so one note, so you just saw Dreemurr skip a cutscene there, so. This game has a story, and I would definitely recommend, like, on a casual playthrough, not skipping these cutscenes, because, like, it's a very well-done story, like, with a tremendous amount of content, like, one of the best stories you'll ever see in a platformer. But cutscene skips are just, you skip the cutscene, and you just have to make sure that, like, you've already triggered the cutscene before you hit the skip cutscene, because the devs, they've mapped the retry button to the same spot on the menu as a skipped cutscene button. So if Dreemurr had not talked to Oshira there, he would have retried and gone back to the start of that screen. Anyway, while I was going through that little piece of information, you probably just missed like 1,000 different cool things that both Mr. Ike and GamzeeDreemurr are doing, because this game is very fast-paced. There's not a ton of breathing room between stages. Like you very rarely get a chance to just like, you know, sit back and just like let the game take you somewhere. Like there's going to be a couple auto scrollers and things in the next level, but they're when we say auto-scroll, we mean like a 4-second level. It's not like, you know, Super Mario Bros. 3 that has turnaround speed gaming where there's like 2-minute long auto-scrollers. Like, yeah, it's a very fast-paced game, very intense speed run, but yeah, these runners are dealing with it pretty well right now. Alright, so Ike is starting on one of the more memorable fights, or one of the more memorable moments in this game, which is the Oshiro fight. So Oshiro being the delightful ghost boy that we've been talking to throughout this entire chapter. Basically, some plot happens, and now he's very angry at us, and he wants us to... He's just very angry at us, and now he's just, like, flying at us. He's tracking our vertical position, and at... don't want to say random intervals, because, again, there's no randomness at this game, but, like, at various intervals, he's going to be, like, flashing that lightning bolt across the screen, then he's going to charge at us to, you know, one-hit KO us, but... Again, just like all the other cycles in this game, we know what we're going to be getting from Oshiro, so we're able to move around, and we're able to like move around where we know that he's going to be. Like, you kind of saw Ike there kind of hold down for a little bit, and I don't know if he was just like frustrated that he missed his strat or if he was setting something up, but yeah. Yeah, so Mr. Ike through Chapter 3 with the 518. I think that was like, what, 946 out of Chapter 3, which is pretty solid pace. And that death from Mr. Ike there, that shows you how like precise this game can be. Like, even the first jump need to be doing something that's like completely on point, otherwise you'll just like plop down into the bottomless abyss. But yeah, this level that Ike's on Golden Ridge, it's notable for a few mechanics. Number one, those little cloud trampolines that kind of give you a giant boost up if you time your jump just right, and this wind, which can be kind of rough to deal with in some spots. Golden Ridge is kind of like an underratedly tricky level to speedrun because there's a ton of tricks that can save like a second here or there, but if you fail any one of those tricks, you lose like way more time than you could get back. Like this wall bounce strat that he's going for, if he had run into those spikes, that's like a several second time loss as opposed to like the 1 second time gain that you get from doing that second wall bounce. Or this auto scroll skip that he might be doing. Very solid. Saves like a few seconds riding that block, but if you fail that, like you have to trigger that whole thing again. And yeah, so it's really cool to like get a lot of these strats first try, but you also have to get a lot of these strats first try to get through this level quickly. Meanwhile, Dreemurr is on his own Oshiro fight, so we'll see how he navigates through. Oh man. Barely, like that was yeah, that was very cool that like he didn't get hit by Oshiro there. Just like the edge of his hair must have just like barely gone under Madeline's toes for a second there. That was pretty solid. Meanwhile, we have Mr. Ike, and there's no real way to skip that auto scroller, but you saw that at the end of that auto scroller section, or not even near the end, I should say, he kind of did this like extended hyper dash off of that block, and that again, if you run into the spikes there, that loses you a ton. Nail it. That's like maybe half a second there. So, but again, you kind of have to go for it if you want to like get to a certain place in this game. Or you don't. Maybe that's something that Mr. Ike only recently added to his repertoire. You know, there's a lot of different ways that this game gives you to like get to the sub 40 mark, which is a lot of runners' goals, and which a lot of runners have attained. I think we're up to like 95 or so people with a sub 40, which is like almost double what it was at the start of this tournament. Like, this tournament has really motivated a lot of people to like not only pick up this game, but improve at this game and like achieve new levels in this game. And that includes Mr. Ike, who's improved his PB a considerable amount of this tourney, and who's now getting through this heavy wind section of the level pretty cleanly. I should say. Meanwhile, Dreemurr is out of Oshiro. You know, couple missteps here and there, but again, that's to be expected. Like, this game it's one of those, like, easy to learn, tough to master sort of deals, and, you know, there were, like, a lot of spots where I saw Dreemurr doing very well, and, like, a lot of spots where, like, I'm sure he knows that, you know, maybe he does, yeah, but yeah, he's doing very well for where he's at. All right, so Mr. Ike is out of Chapter 4, and, you know, still putting up solid times. And he is about to move on to the 5th chapter of the game, which is the Mirror Temple. And Mirror Temple is kind of one of the cooler... It's kind of one of the cooler levels of the speedrun. Like, it's kind of neatly divided into 2 parts. Like, you get this first part, which we're going to come up on, which is just, like, a lot of movement, kind of like the Awake section, like, a lot of, like, really neat skips and whatnot. Yeah, like, that section is just so hard to, like, nail those, like, dashes to get through those, like, tiny little crevasses cleanly, and, like, getting an ultra dash right there to save the time, getting this reverse hyper dash. Oh yeah, and just those spikes there are just costing him, like, a really solid start to this level. Alright, meanwhile, we got GamzeeDreemurr, and... Oh, nearly got the... At least I think he nearly got the auto-scroller skip, but yeah, that was just heartbreakingly close to being able to grab onto that left wall. Like, that was a really solid recovery from him. Almost gets it again. Oof. Try to save it. Yeah, again, you're kind of seeing, like, you know, how weird Golden... if you're, like, still picking up these tricks. And yeah, he's taking it safe here. You know, he's saying twice is enough, don't want to fail it a third time, I need to get going, I need to start moving. And, you know, this is a race, and it's nice to see him, like, you know, not... I mean, you definitely don't want to give up on the trick in practice, but, like, for now, just saying, yeah, I just need to make progress and need to, like, get through this level, and that's really cool to see. Alright, so Mr. Ike is through the movement section of Mirror Temple, and now he's coming into the Seeker section of Temple. So the Seekers, which the game is introducing to us via this stream sequence, they will kind of hone in on your position. So Seekers, they can kind of feel like RNG from time to time, but they're really like an AI. So what we're going to be doing once we're through, like, these cutscene skips and these 2 rooms of these dash platforms, basically we're going to be trying to move in such a way that we're manipulating the AI to do what we need to do. And that was a solid recovery from Mr. Ike right there. They're, like, kind of knowing how to get through that in maybe not the way that he intended. That was pretty decent. That was pretty dope. So yeah, like, right there, dashing so that the Seeker was gonna, like, he would just get under the Seeker, dashing there so that the Seeker would hit that key to open the door. Sorry for anyone whose doorbells sound like that. And we're going to see again the Seeker hitting the key ring, and we may see that again if Mr. Ike nails the strat. Yeah, so when you jump on a Seeker, the Seeker is rendered temporarily invulnerable, and once the Seeker's, like, abilities are restored, oh, it didn't explode for him. But anyway, like, once his Seeker's ability restores, there's, like, this explosion animation, and the explosion animation, assuming you're playing on the latest update for Celeste, I think, will trigger those key switches. So yeah, that's what a lot of those sections are kind of built on. It's just, like, using the Seekers, kind of avoiding them, and fails the first attempt at search skip. So search skip this is one of the more major skips of this game. So if you don't get that reverse dash that he just went for and nailed on second try, you have to go through this section where you have to grab 2 keys. And I think a runner recently went through and found that optimally search skip saves about, like, 1:15, but realistically those are, like every screen in Celeste, very hard screens. So you have to account for the fact that you're not going to be getting through those optimally. You have to like deal with Seeker AI, and you have to deal with precise dumps across obstacles. So realistically, probably saves like about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and now he is in the Theo section, which is another markedly different thing from anything else in the game, because now we have this glass man that we have to carry back and that we have to carry to the end of the level. So when we're holding Theo, we're not able to dash, so we have to compensate for that by quickly, ooh, that was a rough one there, but we have to compensate for our inability to dash by kind of throwing Theo and then quickly dashing so that we grab Theo in midair and retain our dash. Or not retain our dash, but like retain dash momentum, as you should be able to tell from Mr. Ike's side right here. Right, meanwhile, Dreemurr is in the harsh wind section, gets to the snowball sections. Yeah, had a close call at the end of that second screen there, but he's through it pretty okay, and he should be coming up on the end of the chapter in short order. Goes for the swag berry. Heck yeah, man. Absolutely worth it. He understands. He's on Speed Gaming 5. He's got, an audience watching him, and, a PB, that's only going to be temporary if you're practicing this game enough. But swag, that's going to be on the VOD. That might make it to YouTube. That's going to last forever for GamzeeDreemurr, so well done with the swag berry. Alright, so Mr. Ike is getting through the last room of Mirror Temple by throwing our friend the Glassman at an eyeball. It makes sense in the context of the plot, and he is out of there. Alright, so Mr. Ike starting Reflection. Yeah, so Mr. Ike starting Reflection as Gamzee is starting his Mirror Temple journey. So yeah, Reflection is another level that's kind of divided. Like the first is this section. The first is like, and it's also one of the longer levels. It's the second longest level in the game. So the first is a section. We get introduced to these crush blocks, which, as you just saw Mr. Ike display, they kind of crush breakable blocks that are in their path, and they also make a delightful noise. The community kind of calls them Kevin blocks after the man who made that noise, because how could you not name them after the person who made that noise? And we also get these feathers, which are kind of annoying to control. So feathers, Madeline's normal movements. Madeline's normal movements are digital, so we have 8-way movement, like we can move up, down, left, right, diagonally with her. But with feathers, they have complete 360-degree movements. So a lot of players, if they're using a control analog stick, they will kind of switch the analog stick, because that gives them like freer movement. Yeah, so you can kind of see Mr. Ike there is kind of like moving that feather around smoothly and using the analog stick to kind of control Madeline there. And I think it also like faster to use an analog stick in these sections, because you lose speed with like every 15-degree turn or something. Feathers are weird. Also weird are the bumpers in this level. They will bounce you back or forward depending on where you hit them, so most of the time you're just going to try to avoid hitting them, because they can kind of be unpredictable. Like, you can see Mr. Ike landed right on top of that bumper and kind of like was bounced straight back up. Oh, it just misses it right there. But again, right there, he's kind of like hitting these bumpers from all different ways, and they're bouncing him back all sorts of different ways. So you kind of have to adjust. You kind of have to hope that you're landing on them at the right time, and that they're going to be bouncing you where you need them to where you need to be bounced. And we got GamzeeDreemurr heading in, starting his own bout with the Seekers. Ooh, kind of a... I'm not sure if he was going for that strawberry or not, but you know, he opened it up, showed people who are trying to 100% the game where the last strawberry mirror temple was, and yep, now he's just back to making progress. So yeah. Alright, so Mr. Ike in this section, so yeah, those movements that he just did there through that like little gap in between all the spikes, that was intended by developers to be a skip, because you saw like everything that he skipped was this like weird section where you have to like bounce yourself with the bumpers to get through that spike section. So that's much faster than using the bumpers, but it's also a lot riskier because you have to precisely move like Wiggly Madeline through those tiny little gaps, but Mr. I got through it without a problem. Going for battle line. Oh man! Just barely got caught by that corner there. Otherwise we would have seen, I mean, we still got really fast movement through that section, but battle line boost where you just like flow through those screens, it's really cool to see, but yeah. It is what it is, and now we're in the battle line fight with maybe the most notable song in the game. This is usually the part where people name their favorite Outkast song in the chat. I'm partial to AT Aliens today, but you name what you name. Alright, so we got Ike getting through battle line and Dreamer going for Surge Skip here. Yep, gets it, and you know, again, even if it took him a couple tries to get there, that's still faster than going through the section as you were intended to go through it. So very cool to see that persistence, very cool to see him still going for it. Alright, so Mr. Ike getting through battle line, and one thing that you may notice him doing, so you can kind of see that these screens are very long, so the primary strat for these rooms is don't die. You don't want to be repeating these rooms. Like, if he died at the end of that, he would have had to go through those entire sections again. He would have had to like go through these like tiny little battle line explosions, but the main thing that you're going to see runners try to do to optimize this section is get back to the ground as fast as possible, because all the movement tech that we have in this game is kind of based on like interacting with the ground, like, you know, dashing against the ground, jumping off the ground. Like, we're trying to get back to the ground, because when we're just dangling in midair, there's only so much that we can do. Like, we just have to try to get to the ground as fast as possible, which, again, we're seeing Mr. I kind of do that. You know, like, landing on this ground, getting back to that platform to set up that hyper dash, and then that bunny hop to retain the momentum from that dash. So, yeah. Alright, so Dreamer getting through the Theo rescue section, and yeah, so you can kind of see right here. So if you kind of like flub up the strat that you're going for in any given room, see you later, son. Excellent Seeker kill from Gamzee. But yeah, if you mess up any strat that you're going for, then you suddenly have to improvise. So, you know, this Seeker section is like, again, a lot different from any other point in the run, because it's the only part of the run where like you kind of had to come up with new stuff on the fly. Oh, can you grab Theo from there? Oh, yep. Yeah, probably for the best right there. So Mr. Ike through the battle line fight, and yeah, assuming that he gets through this section. So after you defeat battle line, so battle line being the darker side version of yourself, you merge with battle line, your hair is dyed millennial pink, and you get double dash ability. So as we're going to see in this next level that is coming up on the summit, that's going to take advantage of your newfound ability to dash twice. So yeah, we're going to see 25. And again, I'm pretty sure Mr. Ike is a sub 40 runner at this point, but 26-25 coming out of Reflections, still very interesting. And Dreemurr is out a Mirror Temple, heading into his own Reflection. He mentioned earlier in the chat that he had been practicing Reflections, so I want to see that pay off, man. Let's go, Gamzee, and let's go, Mr. Ike, getting through this first remix portion. So the summit begins with like 6 different sections that are kind of remix portions of the levels we've encountered previously. It starts off with the Reflection remix because technically Reflection occurs at the base of the mountain. Again, a lot of plot happens, we're knocked down to the base of the mountain, and now we are very quickly remixed with Reflection. Oh, what? So, the Battleline hitbox can be kind of wonky sometimes, so it kind of looked like Mr. Ike just kind of floated around the hitbox for a hot second there and just never actually interacted with it. Alright, so Mr. Ike, pretty substantially in the lead at this point. Like, it would take a lot for him to like lose his lead and for Dreemurr to catch up. Yeah, he is in the remix version of Forsaken City, which I think actually lasted a little bit longer than the actual Forsaken City level, and also actually requires that we interact with these little scooters that I suddenly can't remember the name of. Yeah, like we barely even touched those in the first chapter, but now in the remix, like with these suddenly large gaps that we have to overcome, like we kind of have to actually touch those now. Alright, so Mr. Ike gets through the second part of Summit here, and he's gonna be coming back to the squishy boxes. Back with the Dream Blocks, and yeah, so another little bit of tech that we're seeing here that we probably didn't catch too much of in Chapter 2 proper. He's gonna be jumping out of these Dream Blocks to give himself like a little bit of additional speed. Barely clips the corner of the spikes there, but again, that's a quick death, and just another thing to mention with the fact that there's no RNG in this game. The fact that there's no RNG in this game means that it's good and bad, because it's good because you don't get like really deep into a run and all of a sudden the game decides, nope, you don't get to get a good time today. But it's also bad because every time you don't get a good run, it's kind of on you. So little weird things like that weird little corner bop, to quote SC Racers, that like at least you can say, yeah, that was the game just deciding, like that was a weird property of that spike deciding that I couldn't win. Alright, so Mr. Ike starting in with the Celestial Resort remix, so it is the return of the Dust Bunnies that we loved so much from the first chapter. Meanwhile, Dreemurr making his way through the first half of Reflection here. Yeah, and you can kind of see, like I kind of talked about with the bumpers, like you can kind of, like you have an idea of where you're going to go, but sometimes the bumper's just like, nah, this is where you hit me, this is where I'm going to send you. But yeah, he recovers well, like adjusts to the weirdness of the bumpers with aplomb. And should be getting pretty close to the battle line fight. Ooh! Okay, nice recovery from Gamzee. Yeah, I kind of didn't get the... I wonder if he might be using D-pad or keyboard here, because, like, yeah, I can speak from experience. Like, using D-pad on those screens, you kind of get to experience the full range of weirdness of feathers. So, like, kind of messed up the feather movement, but was able to recover quite nicely, and we'll see if he goes for the dev-intended shortcut. Oof. That's okay. That's a decent death. That's an aggressive death, and it doesn't cost you that much time dying there. Yep, taking the checkpoint. Nice safety strat. I respect that, and he is through rather nicely. And then we get Mr. Ike going through the Golden Ridge remix. Yeah, and Golden Ridge remix, like its precursor, is just kind of annoying to deal with. Like, Yeah, you'll see in the snowball section, you have to move through the screen very precisely. You kind of have to like know where these snowballs are coming from. I don't know who throws these snowballs, but I don't like them. Ooh, barely misses the ledge there. Yeah, this is kind of like the Ridge remix in a nutshell. Like, just have to trust your movement. You're doing okay. But yeah, nailed the auto-scroller skip, which is very cool to see. Well done, Mr. Ike. Again, like the auto-scroller skip in Ridge part in the Ridge original. I don't like that, but I did that. Like that's a very precise trick that nailing it saves you a few seconds, failing it costs you a lot of seconds. Alright, so Mr. Ike threw that last screen of the Ridge remix and going on to the Mirror Temple remix. So you may have noticed the music in this game, it's kind of going through just like these, again, remixes of the first song in the game, and like each of the sections has their own little spin on that tune, like on that tune, and this is probably the more distinct spin on that original tune of any of the 6. Yeah, and just like Mirror Temple, this has some of the cooler skips in the game, like a lot of really cool movement. Like you just saw that doubled wave dash room. You also saw that really cool 2 neutral jumps, 2 dashes, get the key without going through this like weird, difficult section just below that room. Alright, so we see Dreemurr, I believe, in the last room of Battle Line before the remix, and Mr. Ike doing the thing that almost every single run in the tournament does, go for door skip, and like almost every single run in the tournament, gets it first try. Of course, PogChamp. Anywhere between 1 second to 9 years saved with that one weird trick. Doors hate him. Alright, so Mr. Ike is through to the last part of the summit. So the summit is obviously like the longest chapter, being that it is like, you know, a recap of all the events prior, and now we get new, like original stuff, this mountain section where we have to climb it. So right now we're in the downdraft section. So the downdraft section, basically it's playing with gravity. We're kind of being forced down by this heavy wind, kind of like you saw in Ridge with like the heavy wind kind of forcing us to the right, whereas this time we're just kind of forcing us down. So like this is some of the cooler movement that you're going to be seeing, like these rapid, fast-paced like hyper dashes and wall bounces to kind of like preserve your momentum and like keep you going left with that, while like not dropping you into the spikes. Yeah, it's very cool, very tight section to see. Looks like Mr. Ike is through that with very few problems. Very cool to see. Yeah, very well done. And now he's going to be moving on to the updraft as GamzeeDreemurr is done with the Battle Line fight, gets the Millennial Pink, gets the double dash, and he's out of there with 36 minutes, and his listed PB on SRC is 58, so this is PB potential for GamzeeDreemurr, assuming that SRC is out of date, which again, a lot of runners have been improving very rapidly at this game. It wouldn't surprise me if that were out of date, but still, it's going to be a very solid run from Dreemurr if he can bring this on home. Alright, meanwhile, Mr. Ike in the updraft section, which, obviously the opposite of the downdraft section, we have these like really floaty physics now, and he gets through 2 with barely a problem. Like 13 and 14, that's like those are 2 of the longest flags in the section, so yeah, getting through those with very little problem, that's going to be very important if you, yeah. And yeah, one thing that you may have noticed about the screen is that rather than like have multiple screens, Summit is basically like a collection of 4 or 5 very long screens with these intermittent checkpoints thrown throughout. So like we're already on checkpoint 7 for Mr. Ike. We're going to be catching on to checkpoint 6 right there. If you want to count them down, go ahead, but it's going to be a rather short countdown at this point because I didn't bring it up until just now. But yeah, we're on checkpoint 6, and checkpoint 6, not really a problem. Checkpoint 5, don't even need, well, we got it anyway, but we didn't actually need it. Yeah, the screen transition is checkpoint enough, but yeah, now we're getting through it, yeah. Alright, so Mr. Ike on the second to last check. Ooh! Miss input there. Doesn't get where he needs to go. Dashes, yeah, and you can. Summon is a very rough section to deal with, especially at the end of the run. Like, depending on like what pace you're on, like these can seem kind of simple, but like they're very precise. And like when your brain is just like looking at the time, saying, "Hey, I'm on pretty good pace right now," Summon is not the right place for that kind of mindset, I guess. Yeah, we're through. We're on to flag 1, which has some spikes, but we have passed all the spikes. We are at the top, and we are finished with the game, winning the race with a time of 37:29. GG to Mr. Ike. Oh, and Mr. Ike confirming in the chat for us, that was a 1-second PB. You know, as the old saying goes, you never want to PB by too much, but still, very cool to see getting that PB in the race environment. Alright, so GamzeeDreemurr over in 1,000 meters. You know, finishing this run out, which is really cool to see. Yeah. Yeah, and he's, you know, this Dream Block section, Dream Blocks this time, they're very short-lived, especially when you compare them to the Dust Bunnies that we're going to be running into pretty soon. Like, we only spend maybe a minute in this section. We only spend like 2.5 minutes in level 2. You need more Dream Blocks in your life, man. These are just such a fun mechanic. Ooh! Yeah, it doesn't quite get the dash where he needed to get it, but yeah, gets through that on the second try. Very, very good recovery. Alright, and now Dreemurr is on the 1,500 meter section, and yeah, just, yeah. Yeah, rooms like this one and like another one coming up, they're very long. You definitely, yeah, and it's something that can like even play with your mind because like you know how long these rooms are, and you're just kind of thinking like, especially as you get closer to the end, like just don't die, just don't die, just don't die, and you can kind of like get in your own head like that. So it's really nice to see Dreemurr, you know, able to like overcome like whatever. Yeah, he's doing very well. Gets through that one long screen without a death, gets through that other long screen without a death, and yeah, not that he's home free. These are still very difficult screens that he has to go through. Patiently waits out that cycle. Very, very smart move there. Know your limitations. And he gets... Yeah, we get in through Dog Room, and yeah, we should be getting out of the 1,500 meter section in pretty decent time. Yeah, so well done to Gamzee. Yeah, so Gamzee getting started on 2,000 meter, and we typically start this, so you'll see some runners like kind of take an alternate route, but like the main route that you're going to see is the one that Dreemurr just took, where you go through that one room that's typically reserved for, that's supposed to be a secret. You're just supposed to find that strawberry that Dreemurr picked up there. Ooh, barely misses the dash block. But yeah, that's just a room that's supposed to be for a strawberry, but we found that it's faster to go through that secret room rather than going through the intended path, which is this weird mess of spikes and moving platforms. You don't want to see it. It's just easier to like do those wave dashes off the clouds. Ooh, goes for auto scroller skip, but doesn't time the dash quite right to retain that second dash. Going for the ledge there. Yeah, retains the dash that time, but doesn't get enough height off of that dash. Yep, commendable move. Just like the first auto scroller skip in Ridge, you go for it twice, and if it doesn't work out, you just say, "Okay, I'm just gonna take it safe, take it steady, just get through this game." Respectable. Alright, yeah, making pretty good time through this ridge section, and you just saw like one tiny optimization that you'll see a lot of runners go for. So after Battle Line throws you up, after you like encounter her little orbs, you can kind of start your dash. If you don't dash like Dreemurr just did in that screen, you'll be air for this like 1.5 second dash animation. Oh, this is a nifty alternate route that he took. That's all right. I like that. Yeah. I wonder if it's like, kind of intrigued by that. But yeah, that's, ooh, barely clips the corner there. But yeah, and that's like one of the things about this game. Like, it's so fast paced, so action packed that like you want to talk about everything, but there's no way to talk about everything because there's always like something super cool that's happening at any given moment in a run. Like, some interesting bit of tech, some like weird thing that the game's done. Like that key skip that he just did, that's maybe like the 5th most coolest thing in 2,500 meters alone. So yeah, this is just like a really fun run. You can definitely see why it's like attracted so many like talented people, so many new people to speedrunning. It's just a really tight, really awesome game and really fun run. Oh, and he's going for it. Ooh, doesn't quite get the height on that second dash. But yep, going. And nails it second try. Absolutely incredible. We get a double door skip race here on Speed Gaming 5. Just an amazing feat all around. Alright, so Dreemurr gets through the end of 2,500. 46 on the clock. He would need a really... I mean, PB at this point is all but assured. Sub 50 potential is extant, but it may be on the fringe of the possibility. I'm not sure if a sub for 3,000 meters is in the cards, but yeah, he surprised us all throughout, like with his ability to execute this run. Maybe he has maybe he has like another really cool thing in store for us tonight. So yeah, let's cheer GamzeeDreemurr on as he goes for the end of this run. Yeah, takes death on flag 26 and we're going to be noting flag 26 there in case anyone wants to spam numbers in chat. Yeah, again, he recovers quickly from that, and again, this game is, I mean, obviously, like, when you run this game, you're gonna die a lot. Like, this is a precision platformer, like, and it's even a game that, like, tells you in the postcard it sends you before Chapter 3, be proud of your death count. Each death means you're learning or improving. So this is a game where, like, you really have to deal with, like, you know, recovering from your own mistakes, and GamzeeDreemurr's had that skill on display this entire run long, which is really cool to see. Yeah. Yeah, Dreemurr through the downdraft section, and yeah, the summit, like, it's also like a combination of a couple things. Like, one, like, you're kind of looking at the time and saying, and maybe you're saying for Dreemurr, like, oh man, I'm on really good pace right now. And you also may be cognizant of the situation. Like, if your opponent has, like, you know, a little bit of a better PB than you may be thinking, okay, there's going to be like a portion of this run where I'm going to be the only one on the restream. And that can a little bit. So it's, again, this is like as much a ability to like make quick inputs, like some of the hyper dash that he's been going for. So it's really cool to see him like kind of dealing with the pressure and just like giving us a very solid performance. Yeah, misses that key, but recovers nicely, knows how to deal with that. Okay. Yeah, getting through flag, what is that, 11 with relative ease. Turns on flag 10. Yeah, really crushing this section. Ooh, and just as I say that. So again, Dreemurr really crushing this section. Flag 8, who needs it? Go to for flag 7. And legitimately, who needs flag 8? Like, it's as fast to get to flag 7 from flag 9 as it would be to get from flag 8, so you don't even need it. Flag 6, this is nothing. You just take this feather, fly it up, bounce on the cloud. It's not even a spike. Oh, neutral, yep. Gets it. Yeah, doing very solid work in these last few parts of the summit here, which is very cool to see. Again, sub 50. Okay. Yep, nails it. Gets to use both dashes for a brief boost. Oh, almost got, yeah. Yeah, had to use that second dash. Ooh, runs into the spikes there. And you just get right back on that horse, and you just try to climb the mountain as best as you can. Alright, we are on flag 1. Yeah, just gently hovering over the spikes, using our dashes, getting through the section. And we are there. We successfully skipped the cutscene, and GamzeeDreemurr is through with a time of 50 minutes. GG to GamzeeDreemurr. Very solid run, and potentially a PB, assuming SRC was up to date for him.
Yep.
All right, hello. Yeah, we have GamzeeDreemurr here in the interview room. Gamzee, was that a PB?
Yep, that was a PB.
All right, yeah, GG on that, man. How do you feel?
I feel kind of weird about it because it was a PB by over a minute, which is great.
How do you feel?
I hate how
But Jesus, I was so hoping for sub 50.
over a minute.
I know, yeah, you were so close there, but yeah, but I mean, hey, that's something on the table for your next race, right?
I don't have any more races after this. This was my last race. What's up, Mike?
It's called using Earth's gravity to actually.
Sorry, so we are joined here by Mr. Ike, who I think has the stream on in the background.
Hello. Yeah, I there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm just gonna step away from all the noise. Hopefully it's fine now. All right. Okay, so that run was interesting. There were a lot of spaghetti moments, especially near the end. And the thing is, too, is that I couldn't really, because I run on Switch, and there's no, like, splitter for that.
Yeah.
There's no reliable way for me to tell exactly how far ahead or behind I am. And in addition to that, my PB had a Switch crash after Chapter 5, so I'm pretty much just guessing how far behind I am at that point. So I see minus 30. I have no idea what that means. And, well, I have an idea, but it's not super exact, and it didn't help that there were some rooms that I was just absolutely messing up a ton in Summit. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of stuff going on.
What is the problem here? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there's some excited stuff going on over here, but
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that.
there was a bunch of spaghetti moments where I just like, ugh, I did not feel good. My reflection, however, improved a lot, and my city could have been better, but I was happy with it.
Oh yeah, your reflection was pretty solid, Dreamer. Like, I was kind of expecting to, like, kind of go over, like, I knew you mentioned that you'd been practicing your reflection, but I was kind of expecting to, like, look over and see that you were spending a little bit more time in Battleline than you were, but yeah, you were through that pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was actually really, really weird for me as well, because I'm like, I have never done it this well.
Oh, and also, speaking of, like, really awesome splits, that Chapter 3 I had, that is going to be tough to beat. Was that, like, it was like a 520-ish? That was, like, on the chapter, like, the notebook is 521. That felt very good. There were only a couple parts that were, like, iffy. Like, there was a death in that one room. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, it has all those, like, it's right before where, like, Oshiro makes the wall of the dust bunnies. Like, I had a death there.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Like, right before the 4 hyper room, I had a death there. But there were no, like, really big moments that just felt really bad in that chapter.
I can understand you. My Oshiro actually was pretty well done, except for the last room. Jesus Christ, my last room.
Can feel you. That last room it's
Brutal.
rough.
It's brutal.
I think 2 out of my 4 races, I spent probably about 2 minutes in that room, so
I don't spend
it's
that
not
long.
very friendly.
Oh my god. I died at, like, nearly the end, and I died near the beginning, like, a couple of times, so it wasn't as big of a time loss as that. So I was kind of grateful to get it on, like, 4th try.
Even mine, that was another one of the mistakes in my chapter 3. Like, I died, like, once really quickly right at the beginning due to a misdirect that I get a lot. It's like you hyper into the room, and then I intend to, like, dash down right at the it's on, like, on one of the platforms, but I just dash right and I die. I messed up that part, and I just went through the rest of the room really slowly. Didn't die, but whatever.
Yeah. When you hyper into that room, it's a little weird because the timing gets a little wonky, especially with the cycles coming in.
But overall, for me,
It was good.
Even though, well, for me, even though it was like a 1 second PB, it still felt pretty mediocre. Like mistakes all around. Really, only chapter 3,
PB?
like some parts of it. Yeah, it was a one, actually less than 1 second PB. It's pretty
That's awesome, man.
funny.
Any PB is good, especially where you are right now.
It still was like just none of the splits are something I could be super proud about, you know.
Yeah. Hold on. Moving on to my Golden Ridge, that was actually a little weird because that second to last room, I died like 1 or 2 times. I think it was like 1 time, but it murdered that. But it murdered my last room because that usually is where I make the worst mistakes. Also, going for that swagberry was fun.
Yeah, I noticed the Swagberry. I called that out. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the swagberries are fun to do.
Oh my god.
You can do them pretty fast.
Oh! Oh!
All right, man. I actually need to get to bed. I got work tomorrow morning, so I'll see you guys around.
All right.
Yeah,
Good
GG on the PB. Excellent race that you provided. Yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Indeed.
All right, and yeah, Mr. Ike, you know, blessing and a curse to get a PB like that in the race. Like, you know, it's kind of a curse because obviously you aren't entirely pleased with that run, but it's still really cool to, like, get a run, you know, that close to your PB, like, heading into brackets. I don't know how you're shaping up for that, but what are your chances right now?
Looking at it right now, I think I could make it in, or I feel like I have a good chance of making it into brackets if I can beat DS Gamer. He's the 3rd seed, and I don't know what his PB is right now. I think it's close to mine, so that's probably going to be a pretty good match. But I feel like if I can pull that win, I can make it into brackets. That's just my hot take, though.
No, yeah, and that's solid. You know, got to have that self-confidence. All right, so do you have any other thoughts? Anything else that you'd like to share with the Speed Gaming 5 crowd?
No, not really. I don't really think it was a super eventful run. Oh, I guess it is nice that it's a PB because, or I haven't even like played the game in over a week. I haven't played since my last race.
Oh wow!
So I didn't actually expect that at all, but whatever.
Yeah, you just woke up like this, right?
Pretty much.
All right, well, GG on the win. Good luck with the rest of your tournament, and yeah.
All right, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you to everyone that's coming out tonight. Make sure that you're following Speed Gaming and Speed Gaming 2 through 6, and also follow the runners. They worked very hard to bring you this entertainment tonight, so just gonna real quick drop an R in the chat before I officially wrap this up.